Welcome to the 700 Club. The world is watching as Saudi Arabia and Israel inch closer to a deal to normalize relations. This historic event is part of a growing global acceptance of the Jewish state.
Well, during the recent meeting of the UN General Assembly, one significant development escaped the spotlight. More nations are moving their embassies to Jerusalem. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings us the story.
At the United Nations, Prime Minister Netanyahu met with the President of the Republic of Congo, signaling another embassy move.
We agreed that Israel will open an embassy in Kinshasa, and Congo will move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. These are two good announcements, and I think they reflect our common desire to upgrade our relations.
Then came Paraguay.
Paraguay will reopen and will put the embassy where it belongs, in the city of Jerusalem. Our history brought us together, the present brings us together, but the future will have us more closer than we've been never before.
Before his U.S. trip, Papua New Guinea became the 5th country and first Asian Pacific nation to announce such a move.
Many nations choose not to open their embassies in Jerusalem, but we made the conscious choice. This has been the universal capital of the nation and people of Israel. For us to call ourselves Christian, paying respect to God will not be complete without recognizing that Jerusalem is the universal capital of the people and nation of Israel.
And as you correctly said, it's been our capital for the last 3,000 years. This is where so much of our heritage emerged from. This is where our values were forged. This is where our prophets prophesied. This is where so many of the eternal values that we hold dear were created and disseminated to the people of Israel and from there to all humanity.
Prime Minister Marape invited Pastor Joseph Walters to represent his country's Christian community.
Already the people are excited, especially the Christian populace is so excited that our government has made that move and stand. And we believe that with our connections to Israel, the continued friendship we have, and the building of the embassy will bring blessings to us, as promised by God in Genesis 12:2-3 to Father Abraham.
Pastor Walters expects the move will lead to economic benefits.
Big time for Papua New Guinea, economic, technology, health, power supplies, and whatever Israel can offer in the agriculture sector. We're all excited and looking forward to that.
Thomas Sandel of the European Coalition for Israel feels it's clear why nations should move their embassies to Jerusalem.
I would say, as a matter of protocol, no other nation would have their capital, the location of their capital questioned. I mean, it's a given. It's up to the Israelis to decide what is the capital of the Jewish state, and then for other countries to follow diplomatic protocol and just accept it and move their embassy to Jerusalem in this case, to just recognize the importance of Jerusalem that goes back thousands of years.
Some believe after 3,000 years, these embassy moves represent a move to give the capital city of Jerusalem the respect it deserves. And for Papua New Guinea and some other nations, a generational shift in Christian Zionism indicates a factor where nations may realize the importance of aligning themselves with prophecy regarding Jerusalem. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, here's the prophecy that everyone should be talking about. It's Isaiah chapter 2. Now it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on top of the mountains and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it. Many people shall say, come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. You heard Netanyahu say, Jerusalem, this is where the prophets prophesied. Isaiah prophesied they will prophesy once again from Jerusalem, from Zion. Let's look forward to that day where the children of the prophets become the prophets once again. In other news, former President Trump took his seat at the defendant's table for the $250 million fraud trial that began yesterday. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. The former president was defiant on the first day of the civil case brought by New York's Attorney General. It charges that Trump and his company inflated the value of his properties to get better deals. Mr. Trump in the courtroom Monday, sitting between his attorneys. The judge has already ruled that he committed fraud by inflating his net worth by as much as $2.2 billion. Now he could be forced to give up control of some of his New York properties. The former president and the Attorney General also made their cases to the media.
No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law. The law is both powerful and fragile. And today in court, we will prove our case.
It's a scam, it's a sham. There was no crime. The crime is against me. This trial was railroaded and fast-tracked. This trial could have been brought years ago, but they waited till I was right in the middle of my campaign. The same with other trials and indictments. It's all run by DOJ, which is corrupt.
Former President Trump is expected to be back in court today. Well, here in Washington, the Speaker of the House of Representatives is facing a bid to remove him from his post. Monday night, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz filed a motion to oust Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Gaetz and other hardline members of the Republican conference are frustrated with McCarthy's handling of spending bills, like the recent measure that avoided a government shutdown. The House has 48 hours to decide whether to go forward with the motion. McCarthy reportedly will pursue a procedural move to quash the effort. Well, a big issue with Republican holdouts is aid to Ukraine. McCarthy took out $6 billion in aid to pass the spending measure, keeping the government open. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are working to restore that funding. In the House, some Republicans are refusing to send more taxpayer dollars to support the embattled country. Meanwhile, the Pentagon reports that funds to provide weapons and ammunition to Ukraine are running low. Well, Ukrainians continue to suffer as the war grinds on. Many of the wounded bear both visible and hidden injuries. As CBN contributing correspondent Chuck Holton shows us, a small corps of chaplains is striving to bring spiritual healing.
This Ukrainian medic's GoPro camera video reveals the war's chaos. An artillery shell explodes near his car, wounding him before he can ensure his patient's safety. Despite his injuries, he persists in his mission of caring for comrades, highlighting these heroes' crucial role. Once the wounded arrive at the aid station, Army chaplains immediately comfort and pray for them.
We call them hospitaliers. They only work in hospitals, intensive care units, amputees, psychiatric clinics. And also there's narco clinics that we work with, and lots of soldiers do get addicted because of the stress PTSD that they face, and they cannot cope with it, so we need to work with them. They're struggling. Lots of them lost their families.
While medics can treat the physical injuries, emotional trauma persists. With a shortage of medics, chaplains often take on the responsibility, providing aid and healing to both soldiers and civilians. Many chaplains maintain strong personal connections to the area, which can intensify their challenges.
Lots of them have their families in occupied territory. At this moment, they cannot do anything to it. So we have problems. The chaplains I work with, they go front lines. We go all the way across the front line. In my team, we've got 2 women, both of us mothers of 5.
Christian Hickey, an American Green Beret and ex-police officer, relocated to Ukraine last year, committed to helping these chaplains.
Chaplaincy is not something that's been around at all in Ukraine. It was just officially established in 2022 after the war started. It had unofficially started in 2014. But now I sit on a board where I can actually have direct insight and give great advice on how the chaplaincy corps should work and help train those chaplains so they can go out and help soldiers who are seeking answers, who are looking for something, and this reveal Christ to them right there in the trenches.
Chaplains recognize the critical nature of their mission.
If a soldier is conscious, then we talk to them. We hold their hands. We try to take their attention away from their wounds. Medics like us because they like to work with chaplains because we stabilize them.
This mission is so important. It's the person on the ground, Russian or Ukrainian, who are fighting each other, who are dying, and who are needing some sort of help. We want to stand in solidarity, say, hey, we love you, we're here to support you, and to give them something that's everlasting. It's not something that's internal, not something that's going to go away after we leave.
What we want to do is we want to preach the pure gospel, just like pray to them, lead them to Jesus, take their hands and like literally pray and they accept Jesus Christ in their hearts.
The wartime horrors can affect the chaplains as deeply as the soldiers. Katerina reflects on her emotions just after hearing of a friend's death.
If you ask me to describe what war is, I'd probably use one word to describe it. It's just a waste. It's just a waste of money or resources, a waste of lives, waste of where sometimes we run out of strength. There's just a waste of a whole country, and it's absolutely pointless. Absolutely pointless. At the end, nobody wins.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, Ukraine.
Such an important report, Gordon. We're talking about a year and a half since Russia invaded Ukraine, and that is going to translate really into decades, if not generations, of trauma.
And the trauma continues. What do we as Christians do? Do we just sit by? Do we not do anything for them? But when we're there, when we're saying we're with you, we're praying with you, we want to pray for an end of this war. We want to pray that Russia comes to its senses and stops this unbelievable violence, what is happening. They've waged war against a civilian population. They've tried to deny them power. They've tried to deny them food. They've tried to deny them water. They're raping the women. They're doing all of these incredible atrocities. Let's be there for them and let them know we love you. We're here for you. That you are not a waste and you're not forgotten. In that, we can fulfill the law of Christ. Let us do unto others. If we were there in Ukraine, what would we want us to do? Well, that gives you the answer as to what to do now.